So just like you, I was in search of my next 70 to 200 millimeter lens upgrade, and what I was running into was comparison videos only really covering the photography side of the house. So me as a videographer, I'm like, yeah, this is helpful, but it's not exactly what I need. So what do? I go ahead and buy both of the lenses and then do a review myself to help you out in finding your next 70 to 200 millimeter lens. In the random occurrence, this video popped up on your feed. I am Mark Harris Visuals, and I am mostly a sports videographer, to include all sports. So I film soccer, lacrosse, baseball, football, basketball, volleyball, you name it, I am there. I'm a washed up athlete myself. But anyway, for the type of work I do, a 70 to 200 millimeter lens is not optional. It's something that I need to just throw in my bag, take with me wherever I go when I'm shooting, and using the bad boy. So welcome aboard. All right, so the first thing you're gonna notice is that the Sigma is obviously bigger than the Sony. We're looking at about 1,300 grams and then 800 grams for the Sony. So holding this bad boy for a whole sporting event and you have a full rig setup may make or break the difference, but we're gonna cover a lot more. But let's focus our attention on this Sigma. Like, this lens screams industrial, beefy quality. It's built like it was able to just get thrown in a camera bag, taken on the football field, and roll down the hill of some sort. Like, this thing is beefy and sturdy. This is a really good build of a third-party lens, and Sigma is gonna give you that every single time. So the biggest difference with this lens as compared to the Sony f4 is that obviously it's a 2.8. So you're gonna get that buttery smooth bokeh, you're gonna get that nice subject background separation. It's gonna produce a wonderful image quality. The image quality is gonna be excellent. And obviously one of the biggest advantages you're getting here is f2.8. However, with using this lens, and these are my quick, I can't even call them complaints, these are my nuances and also things that I would like to get out of a lens that is over $1,500. So when I'm filming sports, and especially fast sports, one of the main tickers and key things for me is the lens stabilization. All right, so one thing you're gonna notice is that the Sigma gives you two stabilization modes. You're gonna have stabilization 1, and then you're gonna have 2. The Sigma gives you 2 of these modes, and one of them is designated, so your OS1 is gonna be designated as your handheld stabilization mode. So you slap this on your camera or type of rig of some sort, and you're just running and gunning, and it's gonna be a standard stabilization. So number 2 is gonna be more so placing this bad boy on a tripod, and it's gonna help stabilize when you are panning your subjects. So when you're in controlled situations and you don't need to film quick movements, you don't need to make sure that your camera isn't necessarily stabilized every second on the second, you're able to set up your shots and then, post up and, film your subjects. So in those type of situations, this isn't really a limp fact or necessity to make this a better stabilization kit like most of the native Sony lenses. However, when I'm filming, quicker paced sports such as soccer, lacrosse, or even baseball, or most of the time football, I need the stabilization to be on point. I'm moving the camera around, shaking it all over the place, trying to, one, stay in focus and capture the defining moments. So I'm moving, the athlete is moving, I'm constantly reframing. I'm following a football, soccer ball, lacrosse ball, or even a baseball. And there were situations where I can get some instability at the longer focal lengths. So like my 200 millimeter, especially if my rig wasn't perfectly balanced. So to carry over into another, small complaint I had, there tends to be, especially at your 200 millimeters, right where I kind of like to sit, especially if I'm like at the end zone or the dugout and I need to catch, like a outfield play, or I'm at the other end of the field and I need to catch a tackle or some sort like that for football, 200 millimeters can make or break some really great shots. So one thing I did notice with this Sigma is that there is a half a second or second focus drop off from my subject. It might be for a split second, but when you film in sports, a split second is enough to potentially ruin the shot. If you're in a controlled environment and you're able to set up, post up, and get your subjects and control the scene, this isn't really a big issue. But for what I do, this is kind of a problem. So one thing also on the actual lens itself is that you're gonna have a lock button to lock your aperture ring. And one thing about the Sigma 7200 that I'm really not that much of a fan of, especially when I'm trying to focus in on my subject and I'm moving around the ring, I could easily slip this aperture ring and cause my image quality to be much darker than I want it to. So even when you put on this lock, what it's gonna do is lock onto the aperture numbers and not go to auto. And when you take it off, it's gonna go over to auto. What I would like out of the lens, if I'm spending this much money, is that when I hit lock, I would like it to be locked in onto a specific number, just so I don't hit it by accident. And this is one of those extra things just to be aware of. Like, this isn't really a big deal if you're already aware and you can, you know, just control the situation and, you know, have your awareness on point. But occasionally, if you're already filming and something's going real fast, you're trying to catch a play and you slip past and go to f-stop of 22, you know, that can definitely ruin the shot. I actually like the tripod collars. Specifically this one is nice and beefy, but if I wanted to remove this, then there's 4 little screws inside of there, and then you got to take those off. I typically like to keep mine on, so that isn't really, you know, a complaint for me. Sigma likes to do things backwards. So on most lenses, such as like my Tamron that I used to have or my previous Sony lenses, the 70 would be on the opposite end. It's almost like I'm zooming in backwards than what I'm used to. This is only a complaint for, you know, myself. It's based off what I'm personally used to, but for others it might not be anything. It might just be mindless, but for me, I'm used to 70 being on this side. So when I'm zooming in on a subject, I'm thinking right, I'm thinking I'm pushing into my subject. And when I was filming this, when I was filming with this lens for the first time, I honestly struggled with pushing in and pushing out whenever I'm zooming. So yeah, moving right along to the Sony 70 to 200 millimeter f4 Mark II. So just like the Sigma, this lens came out in 2023. This one came out in July. The Sigma came out in December of 2023. And right at the jump, this thing is easily, you know, a pound and some change lighter. You can feel it. You can feel the big difference there. As far as how compact it is, like, this thing on the go is going to be crucial when, you know, just stuffing this inside of your bag. However, as compared to the Sigma, there's a different size in the two. But one thing about a Sigma is that it is an internal zoom lens. The Sony, however, for some reason with this Mark II, they decided to make an external zoom lens. So in comparison, they are literally the exact same length. That's my, you know, first gripe with this lens, especially if you have a full rig setup or if you know, are filming on a gimbal of some sort. This could potentially, you know, throw you off. One of those minor complaints, but you know, is what it is. What they did was made this lens shorter, but have an external, you know, zoom. The Mark I had an internal zoom, but hey, it is what it is. So if you're ever filming one of Sony's like G series or G Master lenses, you're gonna get that nice bone white look to it with a nice space gray. So this look is always gonna be super dope, and it's going to be literally, you know, Sony's like more flagship, you know, pieces of glass out there. So, you know, you're gonna have all your bells and whistles, you're gonna have your autofocus, you're gonna have your optical steady shot, which this bad boy right here, you know, simply put, you know, it does what it does. It's what I'm typically used to. This is gonna, you know, lock in on your stabilization. And I think that's one of those things where pairing up, all together with native to native, so shooting with a Sony lens and shooting with a Sony camera, out of the gate, the stabilization is gonna do what it's gonna do because it's native to native. And that is my personal experience. So going from that, to Sigma, it was a noticeable difference, but not incredible, difference to where the Sony is like, oh, it has bad stabilization or something like that. One extra thing that is, pretty clutch about the Mark II is that this is actually considered a macro lens. So when you're zooming in at full length to, an object that's like fairly close, it is going to catch focus and act like a macro lens. So I think that that's pretty dope. They thought of that, and that's probably why, they had to make this an external zoom lens. I'm not the manufacturer. I don't know, the ins and outs of why they chose to go that route. But what I can say for the Mark II, I definitely appreciate this. So outside the scope of that, once we talk about image quality, there is, honestly not a tremendous big difference between the two. Both of them have sharp edges. Both of them are going to give you still considerably, even with the f4, that nice bokeh. And it's going to do what it's going to do. Like in comparison for, photos or shots taken with either or of these lenses, there isn't going to be a crazy big, noticeable difference, or, oh, that one's going to be a Sony or that one's going to be a Sigma. Both of them are going to hold their weight, and it's honestly not that big of a difference. But for me, the comparison really isn't about which lens produces the prettiest image. It's all about which lens makes it easier for me to just overall just get my shot. And out the gate, when comparing these two, one being an f2.8 and one being an f4, it's not really about the 2.8 and the f4 comparison, because my main camera body is the Fx3. Now, if y'all know a little bit of something about the Fx3, that it has incredible low light capabilities. So the big difference between, f2.8 and f4 for me being a quicker pace sports videographer, I don't necessarily need, the f2.8. I can get away with an f4 because the Fx3 is going to, put me in great situations when I need to, go to one of my base ISOs or wrap it all the way up to 12,800, which is another one of the base ISOs to give me, the extra push and extra light in my image quality. So in a nutshell, when I'm shooting at night indoors or, less than ideal lighting, I can make up for those extra stops when it comes to filming with the higher ISO. So that isn't really, a big drawback for me for this one being an f4. So the last thing really is the price. So right now on Amazon, you can get the Sigma for $1,600 brand new, or you can get the Sony for $1,700 brand new. Free game, free tip for y'all. Y'all can always select like new, and different camera companies and businesses always posting, their used lenses of both of these, frequently. So like every week I check, there's like a new one that pops up that's like new, and arguably they're right around the same price. So you could, save a couple $100 and you can get either or like new for about $1,450 or $1,500. So that is free game. But hey, at the end of the day, I am making this video and producing this video and giving y'all my personal experience as a videographer, not the photography side of the house. So my final verdict is I'm going to go with this Sony. And this was fun, this was great, and I hope that I, was able to help you out in search of your next 7200 millimeter. No matter how you found this video, somebody shared it to you, you stumbled across it, or you bought both of these just like me, but you wanted somebody to create another video in comparison to two and know about their personal experience. Anyway, I am more than happy to help, and I'm happy to provide that for you. So if you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to know, more questions, more specs, more personal experience with both of these lenses, drop it down in the comment below. Or if you just want to say what's up, Also drop that down in the comment down below. I need the algorithm to do its thing. But thank y'all again for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, click the little bell, click all so you can get notified in each and every video. But that is all I got for this. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Much love.